Good morning. You may be seated. Hey, we're going to mix things up a little bit this morning. And Carrie, I'm glad you're here today. I need you a little bit later to do something for me. We're going to mix things up a little bit, and I'm going to preach now. How about that? So today is Mission Sunday. But before we get there, if you don't have the YouVersion Bible app, download that. And I want to pay a special tribute today to our military veterans. Man, I wish you could have seen the last service and the people that were standing. It was just, it's just heartwarming to think of the number of people we have right here in our own midst who have put on a military uniform. And many of them gone overseas. And some of them were standing for people who'd lost their lives or who had come back and, died of old age or something else. So if you are a veteran yourself, whether time of war or time of peace, would you stand up right now? Any service, any branch of service, if you wear the uniform, just go ahead and stand up. All right? Just stay up now. Don't get in a hurry to sit down. Thank you. I'm standing with you. So we appreciate your service. Stay up. Now, we appreciate your service. Make sure you go to Golden Corral on Tuesday and get your free meal. Jeff Ranson will be at the front of the line. And I think Jeff goes at lunchtime and stays till dinner. So if you don't want to join Jeff on that. Okay, now, you got to stay up. If you are a military veteran family, if your veteran is no longer with us, would you stand up in his or her honor if you have a veteran in your life? Yeah, wow. Look at that. Look at that. That's great. Great. Awesome. Well, now thank you. You may be seated. What a great country we live in, that we can have young men and women step forward and give their life to our protection and freedom and doing all those good things. Well, today is Missions Sunday, Missions Awareness Sunday. That's why I have my Haiti shirt on. This is a Haiti shirt. This shirt was made in Haiti, and it was bought for me. And just this morning, I've had this for a year or so, and I usually wear it on Missions Sunday, but just this morning it occurred to me. And I hope this isn't a disparaging comment or thought, but it occurred to me that I think these animals down here, I think this is a cat. I don't know. I'm not sure, but I think it's a cat. Now, does anybody find that funny? Because in Haiti, yo mange chat. They eat cat in Haiti. Yeah. So this is like wearing a Big Mac on my shirt or something. They love cat. I'm afraid, I hate to tell you that, but they do. And we're, well, I don't want to make any jokes about it, but we're adopting, we've already told our cat, I'm kidding. Yeah, so, hey, it's Missions Awareness Sunday, and I'm gonna fly through some things because I want to give you kind of a foundation for a theology of mission. I want to give you a foundation for a theology of mission, because as believers in Christ, and if potential believers in Christ, you need to know why it is we spend lots of money, and I say we there, I mean the church universal, why we spend lots of money not only in this country but around the world. America itself is one of the most benevolent giving nations in the world. It's ironic that we are criticized and hated by nations all over the world, yet when it comes time to lend foreign aid, America is always at the front of the line. Always at the front of the line. That's how it has been in our history. And I want to tell you something. You can say what you want to and believe what you want to, but in my opinion, what has driven, this is my opinion, and I think, as I do with most of my opinions, I think it's right. In my opinion, what has driven America to be the most beneficent or giving country in the world is our Christian heritage. It's our Christian heritage. We give, I think, as a nation because of our heritage, of our past, and of our Christian roots. You take that away, and then our generosity in the world, I think, goes away or subsides. Now, there are a lot of people who might disagree with that, atheists and irreligious people, but I believe at its core, America is a Christian nation, and that's why we are very giving, because of our missional mindset. In my opinion, and I could be wrong on this one, I think that's changing now. I don't think our attitude in America is changing about helping people in other countries. So, and that's a debate or a discussion for another time. But the church, from the very beginning, was missional. We had a mission. It wasn't that we were supposed to get together and slap each other, on the back and high-five each other and sing some songs and eat some cupcakes and drink some coffee and go home and do it again next week. We have a mission, and it has been ingrained in us from the very beginning of our existence. So I want to talk about missions today. It's a big topic, and you may think you know what it is, and if you do, that's wonderful. Everyone who attends a church, everyone who follows Christ should know what this is. What is missions? But before we answer what, I want to answer why. Why do we participate? Why are we beneficent? Why do we give to help other people? Why do we walk across the street to help our neighbor? Why do we do that? Why do we send missionaries to other countries? Why do we care? Why do we help? Now again, we may argue that it's God put that in our human nature, or if you're an atheist, maybe you believe that somehow you grew this on your own, which is hard for me to explain or believe that a person could do that. If I'm an atheist, I'm not going to care about anybody. You might say, well, that's kind of mean, but my caring about other people all comes, in my opinion, from a love for Christ and His love for me. And I've got a scripture here to show you that. But why do we do it? Why do we do missions? Well, first of all, because Jesus said to. He said go, didn't He? The Great Commission is a familiar passage. It's in the end of Matthew. This is one of the last words of Jesus. This is like the mission. Look, I'm not going to be with you now. Here's what I want you to do. He said, all authority, and that's a lot of authority, has been given to me in heaven and on earth. So no matter where you go, you're not going to find anybody with more power, more authority, more can do than I have. Has been given to me. Therefore, go. Make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you, and surely I'm with you always to the very end of the age. So, that's called the Great Commission. It was kind of the last word of Jesus to His disciples. Look, guys, I've taught you for 3 years. I've poured into you. We've said this. We've done that. And before I go, I just want to tell you, this is what you've got to do. You've got to go. You've got to make disciples. And you make a disciple by baptizing them and teaching them. That's what He said. That's part of making a disciple, a follower of Christ. So every follower of Christ is going to be baptized, and he's going to be, or she's going to be taught and going to be learning. And then in turn, he or she's going to be going. So go. He is the sovereign God. Hudson Taylor, the great missionary to China, spent, I think, over 50 years in China. One of the first missionaries. He was back in the 1800s from England. He became convicted as a 19 or 17-year-old boy that he needed to give his life back to God. He grew up in the home of a Methodist preacher, drifted away as a teenager, and came back when he read a Bible tract and decided, I need to get serious about this. I need to give my life to God, and I need to do it in this way. And so he became a missionary to China and really impacted. He was one of the most innovative missionaries ever. He said the Great Commandment is not an option to be considered, but a command to be obeyed. I'm afraid that those of us in the American church today, though, think that this is an option. One option of many. If I have time, if it works out for me, if it's convenient for me, then I'll be missional. I'll obey the Great Commission. I'll try to help somebody else become a follower of Christ. So Jesus said, go. The second reason is because it's his plan A. You know, there's no plan B. He didn't say, hey guys, we're going to try it this way for 1,000 years. And if it doesn't work, we'll try it this way. Or we'll try it this way for a generation. If it doesn't work, we'll try it this way. No. He said, this is it. This is it. In Matthew chapter 4, when Jesus called those early disciples, he says, look, come follow me and I'll make you fishers of men. That was the pattern. It's not an electronic thing where we write letters or we write email. It's not writing books. It is not getting on TV and broadcasting all over the world. It is not a lot of the things that we think it is. The method of mission is one person using his voice with what his head and heart has been convicted with and talking to another person in person. And you may disagree with that. I'm not discounting TV and books and letters and email and all the wonderful methods that God has given us in order to reach people. But what I'm telling you is the primary core method of doing missions was your mouth speaking the word so that somebody else could hear it. That's why it is so important that we have people all over the world who have chosen to follow Christ, and they're sharing that story. I mean, if the method was TV, God would have helped us invent TV back in the first century, and we could have just broadcast the station. If it was books, He would have just He would have given us the ability to make a book, but He didn't give that to us until 1400s when Johann Gutenberg made the first printing press, and what skipped off of that first was the New Testament, but that was 1400 years after Jesus. The primary message has been and always will be you telling somebody else. Be prepared to tell people this is what I believe and this is why I believe it, regardless of your age. That's the plan A. That's plan A. There's no other plan B. He didn't come up with a fallback plan. He didn't come up with something that, hey, if this doesn't work, maybe we'll try this. No. And you know what's amazing to me about this? That the sovereign God has chosen this way to reconcile the world to Himself. So, in Acts chapter 1, Jesus, this is right before His ascending into heaven, He told His disciples, He'd already given them the Great Commission, and He said, you're going to receive, actually this is when this is before His final ascension. He said, you'll receive power when the Holy Spirit comes on you, and you'll be my witnesses in Jerusalem and in all Judea and in all Samaria and to the ends of the earth. Now listen to this. After He said this, He was taken up before their very eyes, and the cloud hid Him from their sight. And they were looking intently up into the sky as He was going, when suddenly two men dressed in white stood beside them. Now let me show you what's going on here. Jesus is ascending. Now I don't know if the Greeks, the early people, if they had a word for levitate. But this is what was happening here. Jesus was just kind of rising off the ground, and he was just going up. It would have kind of made you dumbfounded. You ever? This is kind of a silly question, but you'll understand what I mean. Have you ever seen anything you've never seen before? You remember seeing something you've never seen before? Maybe it's a trick, or you see maybe on the internet you'll see things. Wow, how did he do that? Or maybe you're in person. We were at the Grand Canyon last summer when the guy walked across part of the Grand Canyon, down the road a little bit. It wasn't a big deal. I mean, it was just only a couple miles down and a couple miles across. It wasn't that far, but we were there when that happened. We happened to be out west when that happened. We happened to be there at the Grand Canyon National Park when he was doing that. So we were there when that happened, and the guy was about this big. So we all had to go home after that, back to our hotels and watch it on TV so we could see. But that was incredible. So when this happened, I'm sure these guys were like, what in the world is happening here? His feet just left the ground. So these two guys appear. They're standing there with their mouths open. They're like, wow. And I think they were caught up in the moment. These two angels said, men of Galilee, why do you stand here looking into the sky? This same Jesus who has been taken from you into heaven will come back in the same way you've seen Him go into heaven. In other words, guys, don't get too been out of shape about this. Don't just stand there. Go do something. I'm afraid the Christians today, we've heard the message, hey, just stand there. Just stand there. Just stand there and worship. Just sit there and learn. And that's all you have to do. Just stand and worship. Sit there and learn. That's all. And then come back next week and we'll do it again. No, that's not what he said. Standing and worshiping, sitting and learning are all good, but that's not why we exist, is it? That's not why we exist. Why we exist is so we can go. Don't just stand there. Don't just sit there. Get out there. Get into the game. You know, we need to get out of our huddle. Get out of our huddle. Kind of got football on the brain today, and I don't know why, but there was a time yesterday on one particular game I was watching, I wanted to say, just go back to the huddle and stay there. Listen, that's his plan A. That's plan A. The third reason that we should do mission is because we live to bless others. We do. We live to bless other people. We're a channel. We're not a container so much that we are supposed to try to contain it all. We're like a funnel. We're supposed to channel blessing. It started back in Genesis when God called Abraham out of his country and said, look, I want you to go and I want you to be my man. I want you to be my man. I want you to follow me, and I want to make your descendants numerous. And he said, I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you, I will curse. And all peoples, and that's where you and I fall into the category here. We're all peoples. We're part of the all peoples, and future generations will be blessed through you. We exist to be a blessing to other people. Years ago, when I first came to this church, there was a lady who's still alive. Maybe some of you know Neil Proudfoot and his mother, Catherine Proudfoot. Catherine used to sing here, sing specials in the church. And she sang one particular song that I can still hear her singing. And I've got something inside of me saying, hey, try to sing the song for them, a line of it like she sang it. But I'm going to fight that for your sake, and so you won't laugh too loud at me. But Catherine would sing that song, and that's the song. And here's the song. I don't know if you've ever heard it. We don't really do it anymore. It's called People Need the Lord. Have you heard that song? Kind of an older Christian song. People need the Lord. Man, I'm fighting that urge real bad. People need the Lord, don't they? People need the Lord. And they do. Everywhere you turn, everywhere you look, every aisle, every neighborhood, every house, somebody needs a blessing. I used to have an old guy in my church, my first church down in Mercer County, about 15 miles out of Princeton, a little church called Goodwin's Chapel, Church of Christ, it was called, Goodwin's Chapel. My first church, the church was over 100 years old, or at least we celebrated 100 years, but we had this old guy named Bernard Croy. Bernard and Joanne lived right up above the church. They were kind of like the unofficial caretakers of the church, and they lived in a house with no indoor plumbing, so when I visited them and would eat those good biscuits and dumplings she would make, I didn't stay long, you know, and Bernard would always come up to you and he would hug you and pat you on the back and he would say, bless you, bless you, bless you. And you know what? Here it is, I don't know, I'm working on 25 years of ministry, and my first church, that guy was a blessing, not just because he said bless you, but because that's the way he lived his life. And you'll know people like that. People that have blessed you. People that have made a difference. People that have said a kind word or something positive. Today there's so many ways to do that. You can do it personally. You can do it on Facebook or any way you do it. But I want to tell you that's part of why we exist. To bless others. Let's not get so caught up in our little stuff. Challenges, issues, problems that we forget that God, you didn't just put me here for me. You might have put that person in my path so you could bless them. And the only way you're going to bless them today, you've chosen me to be that channel of blessing. The Bible says we love because He first loved us. This drives all missions, I believe. On this side of Calvary, we love because He started it. He loved us first. So, why do missions? Why do missions? Why go across the street? Why give money? Why support agencies and people like those displayed in our lobby out there today? Why do this? Well, there's the reasons. There's the reasons. But I want to talk a little bit more about missions, and maybe you're not quite there. You understand, hey, I need to go, but I want you to know more than that. I want you to understand not that you need to go. I want to tell you what it is. You know, I know good soldiers will carry out the mission without even knowing what it is. They don't see the big picture, they see the little part. Maybe that's really who we are. We're never going to see the big picture. But I want to tell you what missions is. And I say missions singularly, as you can see. What missions is. We could say what missions are, but that would be talking about individual missions. But I want to talk about missions as a category. What is missions? I'm going to tell you what it's not first. It is not us doing something for God. Now, don't hear what I'm not saying. I know that when we do things in the name of Christ, whatever that is, in a way we're doing something for God. But I don't want you to be confused here. It's not that we're doing something for God. Like, hey God, I got an hour on Saturday. If you need something, I'll give you an hour. Okay? And then we spend that hour on Saturday, and we did something for God. Pat me on the back, because we did something for God. That's not missions. I want to tell you something, if you didn't know this, God really doesn't need us to do anything for Him. Do you understand that? The God that I love and serve really doesn't need us to do anything for Him. He is sovereign. He is omnipotent. He is omniscient. He is everything. He doesn't need me. He doesn't need you. He has no needs. He doesn't need anything. He exists. He chooses to allow us to be a part of a mission. So it's not like we're, and I think this is where we, again, in the American church, and I know I refer to the American church a lot in a disparaging way, but it's just because I love it so much that I want to see us turn it around. I want to see us turn it back to what it should be, because I think in America we've become so comfortable and so complacent that we think we're doing missions when we give God an hour or a couple hours or a 10-day period to do something. And God, I'm doing this for you, doing it for God. That's a good notion to start with, but that's not missions. Because what that does, that compartmentalizes your missions. It's like, oh, I already gave my hour. I did my 10 days already. I don't need to do that again until, I can do it again. But I already did that. You see what it does? I did that for God. I don't need to do that again, do I? It's not His birthday again, is it already? We'll do it next year. You know what else it's not? It's not us starting something and asking God to bless it. Hey, I got this great idea. Get this great idea. We're going to go down here and we're going to buy this building. And we're going to turn it into this great, awesome place. And it's going to be our mission. And then we're all going to get together and surround it, and we're going to say, God, we have built this great, awesome place. You'd like it. Will you bless it? Will you put your blessing on it? You see how that works? How we do that sometimes as Christians? We go ahead and jump out there. We go out on a limb, and we say, hey, I'm going to do this because this is what I want to do. I want to do this because, I don't think anybody should stop me. I want to do this. This is me. So we get out there and we go do this. We're out on this limb and we do it. And then we say, God, I need your help because I'm doing this, and you should help me. Now there's a fine line here. You understand what I'm saying? It's not us coming up with an idea and saying, hey God, we're doing this over here. Have you noticed? Have you noticed what we're doing? Will you bless it? We do that a lot, don't we? With our life. Hey, God, I'm in college right now, and I'm going to be this because these people make a lot of money. And I can give more to the church. So God, I've made my decision. I've looked at the salary scale, and I'm going to do this with my life because I'll make more money. And God, would you bless me in my job? Because I'm going to make more money. You see how that works? And we could take all of our life and we could look at our decisions and we could look at our future and our past even and say we have made the decisions based on what we wanted to do. And then we ask God to bless it and stamp off on it. That's not the way it works, is it? That's not what we're supposed to do. Let me tell you what missions is. What missions is. It is us eagerly and joyously participating in what God is already doing in the world. Guess what? When you get there, if it's a God thing, He is already there. It wasn't your idea. Now, methods, how we present something, man, God has gifted us with lots of great ways like, television and social media, and people are doing just fabulous things, but the essence of what we're doing, this was God's idea. The goal is the same. It's to make disciples. That's what He said. Go make a disciple. Go get people to believe in me. Convince them. Compel them. Compel them. Plead with them. Get right with God. He loves you. It's the same. That's what we're doing. So that's what missions is. It's us sitting back and saying, God, what are you doing? What are you doing in St. Albans? What are you doing in Kanawha County, Putnam County, West Virginia? What are you doing? Where's your heart? God, what's touching your heart already? We don't want to come up with something new. What's already touching your heart? Where's a tear rolling from your eye when you look down at these people? Where's your laughter, God? When you see this, where are you laughing and saying, oh, this is what I love? God, show us that. Then help us to get involved in that. Show us a way to get involved in that. That's what missions is, because we'll sell out everything. If you'll just let us get involved and take part in that. Paul, the apostle, said, look, we're ambassadors. We are Christ's ambassadors, as though God were making His appeal through us. And we implore you on Christ's behalf, be reconciled to God. An ambassador is kind of a governmental term, but an ambassador is somebody who doesn't speak for himself. He represents a sovereign state, a sovereign nation, and he's sent on a temporary mission to speak for the other guy, the sovereign, the higher than, the state. But he's in a foreign land, he's in a different place, but he doesn't speak for himself. Officially, he speaks for God, or for the higher. And you and I, that's who we are. We're ambassadors. We're ambassadors. So when you get out there in the world today, you're speaking for God. What are you saying for Him? Are you saying His message? A lot of people have asked me, hey, why don't we do Compassion International? And I just wanted to let you know, I say this every now and then, and I love Compassion International, and we're doing Operation Christmas Child, Samaritan's Purse, and those boxes. Get them in if you're doing one by next week, and they're going to go all over the world, and they say you can track it. I tried to do that last year, but I wasn't successful, but it's a great thing because it's going to touch people all over the world. And there are people in our church who have children they support through Compassion International. It's not my purpose now to tell you about that, but it's my purpose to tell you why we don't do that. Because, God led us about 4 or 5 years ago to a little island called Hispaniola. And it had been fought over by countries for a long time until finally they liberated themselves. And the island was split in two, and the good, lush green side was given to the Spaniards. And the French had one side, but again, the Haitians liberated themselves, and they became the first black free nation in 1804. 70% today, 70% of the population of Haiti is under the age of 30. 70% of the babies born in Haiti are born to unwed mothers. It's the poorest country in the world. Many of us have been there. And that's where God opened a door for us. And so what I say is, look, sponsor a child and then go visit that child with your church. Go put your hands on that child. Now, there's opportunities to do that. Greg Hereford will take you anywhere else in the world you want to go just about. As a church, though, we've adopted Haiti, and I just wanted you to know why. You know, this is Mission Sunday. This little boy here has the last name Stauffer now. It's kind of cool to see his name on a birth certificate with my last name. And hopefully in the next, 6 months, he'll be living on Blue Lick. What a culture shock for him. And these kids right here are some of my favorite kids. These little kids on your right over here, those two kids right there, at least the one on the far right, I know they're hard to see and that they're dark. Her last name is Engelmeyer, the one on the far right. And that's her brother to her right, Fayu, and hopefully his name will be Engelmeyer soon. And on the far left there, how many of you remember who that is? Who is that on the far left? Who? That's little Stephen. Little Stephen. And he's kind of a catbird there. Everybody would like to bring him home. And the boy beside him with the sucker, and I gave him those suckers, by the way, that's Shadrach. Shadrach is the son of Wilson and his wife, Madam Wilson, leader in the church. But that little girl in the middle is kind of a lot of people's favorite, but she's a little girl that my family sponsors. Her name is Shedlin. And Shedlin is in the thick of it. If there's something going down, she's right there in the middle of it. And she's just a precious little child. And well, this is Caleb, my son-in-law, holding her. And I don't know what kind of face they're telling her to make there, but we sponsor her every month. We give money so that she can go to school and so she can have food twice a day. And then at least once a year, myself and most of my family will go over there and we'll pick her up and love her and hug her, get kisses from her and hugs from her. We'll even teach her things like this.
I am beautiful.
I am beautiful.
Yeah! We.
I am beautiful.
See,
I
she's,
am beautiful.
we thought we'd make a rap song out of that.
I am beautiful.
Bum, bum,
I am beautiful.
bum, bum,
I am beautiful.
bum, bum. So, you know, when I go to bed at night, I think about that little girl and her mother, Marie Flo, and several of you sponsor kids. There's opportunity to do that today and do a lot of other things. But I want to tell you something. Doing something like this in my ministry, in my years of ministry, has transformed it to be able to think that we could do something here and somewhere else in the world. Listen, I'm going to have you stand. We're going to sing a couple songs. If you have a question about your spiritual life, if you want to make a first-time decision to accept Christ and be baptized as a disciple of His, if you want to put roots down in this church, I just want you to come talk to me during these two songs, and then we're going to come back and share communion together. Would you stand up and let's sing together?